I bet Hollywood studios are starting to understand that it's actually better for them when actors are on strike and can't promote the movies, because every time Rachel Zegler spoke about Snow White, it just made things worse and worse for her and for the movie. And right now she's actually being dubbed Disney's new Brie Larson.
Is that like a personal attack or something?
But I'm going to offer a little pushback on this, because at least Brie Larson had an Oscar to her name before she became a bit insufferable. Rachel Zegler really hasn't had anything to show for it, but she comes across as a sense of entitlement. But let's get into this article right here. So it's official, she's Disney's new Brie Larson, and not for the reasons you think. Since being cast as Snow White in the upcoming live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven, well, now it's Snow White and the Seven Hipsters, Rachel Zegler has received endless flack from Disney fans and non-fans alike. In the beginning, their biggest issue was that Zegler, a Latina actress of Colombian and Polish descent, was cast as a traditionally white character. It's not so much that Snow White was a traditionally white character, it's that her name is actually a description of her skin tone. She was very fair complected. She had skin white as snow. That's why they called her Snow White. And it's actually a real big important part to her identity. Imagine if they did a remake of Princess and the Frog and they cast a white woman to play the part of Tiana instead of a black woman. I would be saying the same thing, that they should have cast a black woman to play the part of Tiana and not a white woman, because it makes no sense to race swap the character, especially when their race is a part of their identity and a part of that character. If you want to have a Latina princess, then make a movie about a Latina princess. You don't need to make a race swapped version of a white character. But let's continue on. The critiques have taken several new twists and turns, and the latest with being that Zegler is allegedly ungrateful for playing such an iconic character and doesn't understand the lore of Snow White. No, it's obvious that she doesn't understand the lore of Snow White by her stalker comments, but I'll get more into that in a minute. But the fact is, yes, she is ungrateful for playing such an iconic character. Now, compare this to Halle Bailey when she was cast as Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Yeah, that was a race swap casting too that really shouldn't have happened. But I mean, at the very least, she did seem like she was respectful of the character and actually liked being in that movie right now. And during this interview, when asked about her favorite song to sing in The Little Mermaid, Bailey said, "It definitely was Part of Your World, and the reason being because that song means so much to me. It meant so much to me when I was a little girl, and that was what I would sing at the top of my lungs." So yeah, she actually cared about the character. She liked the movie when she was a little girl, which kind of defies the whole argument that they need a representation in order to identify with the character. Obviously, Halle Bailey was able to identify with Ariel even as a little girl, so that ruins that. But either way, yeah, she did like the movie. And then when you see this other thing right here, she had no problem with her actually falling in love in the movie. I mean, because she was fine with sticking to the source material to an extent. Yeah, they changed a bit of it, but at the same time, like, yeah, she was respectful for that. Now you compare that to what Rachel Zegler is talking about with the movie.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. Like, I'm being so serious. I watched it once and then I went on the ride in Disney World, which was called Snow White's Scary Adventures. Doesn't sound like something a little kid would like. Was terrified of it. Never revisited Snow White again.
Wow. Yeah, the perfect casting for this role. Someone who doesn't even like the role. Now, if you actually look at this other one, this is the most recent one talking about the stalker thing.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her.
Okay, how insufferable can you be? Just first of all, evidently so. It's like, I know she's just trying to be funny here or whatever, but it really does come off as obnoxious.
Her love story. With a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird.
Okay, he wasn't a stalker. In the original movie, apparently she doesn't remember because she only saw it once when she was a little kid. He wasn't a stalker. They both fell in love with each other at the start of the movie, and after she was poisoned and put into that death-like sleep, he found her a year afterwards, and then was in a moment of grief, he kissed her, and then that's what brought her back to life. There wasn't a stalker element to it. I mean, he was at the start and he was at the end. If anything, the prince has no characterization. I mean, male actors should be complaining about that. It's like, oh, the prince is just there to save the princess and that's it. I mean, as opposed to the Snow White being someone that he just had to be with because he just fell in love with her because of the sound of her voice. I mean, that's just whole thing. She doesn't understand the story. She doesn't understand the characters. She literally is just coming across as someone with a sense of entitlement. And also just pay attention to this because, yeah, this was a movie that came out in 1937 and people are still talking about it like over 80 years later. I mean, do you think anyone's going to be talking about this movie in that time? No, people are going to forget about it in a couple of years because honestly, when you're trying to insert modern politics into your movie and modern sensibilities into your movie, all you're doing is just very dating it. When you get something like Snow White, it's a timeless movie because it has messaging and just elements to it that resonates throughout time, no matter what era you're in. And that's why I really don't have a way. I mean, I just can't bring it to me to actually hate movies like this, because ultimately we still got the original and these are going to be forgotten. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And if you do agree that people like this shouldn't really be promoting their movie, then make sure you leave a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.